Alrighty. Again, good afternoon. My name is T. Turner, and I want to thank you all for joining us for our Climate Smart Commodities Project info session. I'm the Climate Smart Project Manager, and today I'm joined by our partner organization, A Greener World. You will be hearing from Caitlin Aguilar and Callie Castile later in the session. If not further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Just a couple of Zoom housekeeping reminders. So, of course, this event is being recorded and it will be shared with attendees afterwards. And it'll live on RAFI's website as well as A Greener World's. So if you do know folks who couldn't attend today, they will have opportunity to review the recording. All participants are currently muted. And if you have questions, we ask that you please share that in the chat. So here's our agenda for this session. First, I will provide an overview of the project, then discuss project eligibility requirements and incentives before moving into the project structure/timeline in the farmer process. I'll pass it over to Caitlin, who will explain the measurement, monitoring, reporting, and verification for the project, who would then pass it over to Callie to discuss the project's marketing support. And we will end it with information on how to apply for the program and before moving into our Q and answer section. So just a brief overview of our project. Of course, our partners here are A Greener World, Rural Advancement Foundation International, which is RAFI, and Soil Health Institute, which is SHI. So in this project, A Greener World, or AGW, is the project lead. They are going to be the ones who's going to administer the regenerative certification program to ensure that climate smart practice monitoring and verification is done and provide marketing support to participating producers and complete evaluations. RAFI will act as the key contributor to the project by conducting outreach and recruitment of the producers, managing distribution of financial incentives, providing technical assistance to providers on climate smart practices, and planning and supporting project implementation. And Soil Institute, or SHI, acts as an evaluation partner for the project by conducting soil testing on sample subsets of participating pilot farms to establish baselines, determining potential for soil improvements, and monitoring impact of the practices used. This project aims to provide a framework for farmers to transition towards regenerative practices through incentivized implementation of climate-smart practices. Farmers who are located in the United States, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands are welcome to participate in the project. However, we are particularly focusing on recruiting farmers who are in the southeastern states of the United States. Over the course of this project, we hope to work with 100 farmers to implement these practices while also being able to collect and support data gathering for the project. We hope to benefit farmers by providing incentive payments, assist with production system improvements, and market support. So a brief look at how you are eligible for this project. So we are looking for farmers who have full management and control of their farms, have a system to clearly, or seeking a system to clearly trace commodities from field to buyers, involved in livestock production, cropping, or both. So farmers who have the following commodities: livestock, which are dairy cows, beef cattle, sheep, goats, and swine; row crops, which is corn, soybeans, barley, oats, rye, I'll keep messing up on this word. I'm gonna skip it. I'm sorry. Cotton, peanuts, sunflowers, potatoes, kidney beans, alfalfa, clover, rice, and wheat. Specialty crops: peas, pumpkins, squash, kale, green beans, beets, carrots, and a range of fruits. And also, we're looking for farmers who are able and willing to commit to implementing NRCS designated climate smart practice within the scope of the grant, which is nutrient management and prescribed grazing, and also those who are looking to become certified regenerative by A Greener World. So incentives for the project for farmers. So to support farmers that are in the project, we're offering stipends in the amount of $1,250 to support time spent on climate-smart regenerative farm planning and emissions reduction plan design. In addition to the stipend, farmers will also receive assistance from RAFI's technical assistance provider. Farmers will have the opportunity to attend the Certified Regenerative Certification from A Greener World through plan implementation and auditing and validation. This certification is valued at $2,050. Assistance accessing new climate smart markets and premiums, along with customized marketing and labeling support from A Greener World, as well as infrastructure incentive payments averaging up to $10,000 based on examination of emissions reductions and implementation of specific climate smart practices.
Oh, Tia, I think you went on mute.
Uh-oh, I don't know how that happened.
You're back.
Did you catch anything before project structure, or do I need to go back a slide?
I think you were right at project structure.
Okay, perfect. So for this project, our structure goes as following. So first is the enrollment stage, where we identify, recruit, and onboard farmers into the project. Then we have the initial site visit, where your farm will be assessed for alignment with NRCS standards and regenerative plan writing. Will begin with RAFI technical assistance provider. Farmers can then expect to work with the technical assistance provider on a regular basis to get their plans completed for submission before moving into the next step, which is the baseline validation by A Greener World. This is where A Greener World will review and approve plans and conduct their initial site audit. After their audit, plan implementation begins. This is where monitoring, measurement, reporting, and verification begins after plan implementation. And farmers will also receive their first incentive payment at this point in the project. After farmers have had some time to implement their plan, practice validation is completed by A Greener World, which entails a renewal audit to confirm implementation of the climate smart practices. And last but not least, climate smart marketing occurs, which is where market support and supply chain tracking for products from farms with valid climate smart practices occurs. So just a brief look at the timeline for the project. So this is what it will look like from our perspective. So when we enroll farmers, we are enrolling them in cohorts of 20, but regardless of what cohort you end up in, each farmer will follow the same process. So again, the enrollment, the site monitoring, then you'll have your audit, you'll be able to get your incentive payments, implement the practice, and then also get that marketing support with the climate smart products. From your perspective, as a farmer, you can expect to follow the following process, which is submit the interest form, schedule and complete an eligibility screening, be invited to participate in the project, schedule your first site visit, and begin working on that regenerative plan writing process with RAFI, and apply for your incentive grant. Have your regenerative plan approved by A Greener World and complete the initial audit with them. And then after you complete those steps, get your certification, and then do your implementation of the practice, which is for this particular grant. It is the nutrient management or prescribed grazing. So you can do either or both if interested. And then you will also, in conjunction, be able to start getting your incentive grant. After you've done your implementation, you will be getting a second certified audit by a greener world. And then that's when your marketing support would start with the Climate Smart products. And of course, throughout the duration of your participation in the grant, data gathering, reporting, technical assisting, and marketing support will be provided to you. If you are interested in understanding the farmer process by quarter, this is what it will look like. So this would be for any participants who enrolled in Q1 of 2024. So as you can see, we are at the fall/winterish part of this diagram. So some of you may have already submitted an interest form. If you haven't, you will submit your interest form, schedule the phone screening with me, and then you will get an invitation to participate if you are fit following your phone screening, and then we will enroll you into the project. In the spring, you can anticipate to have that first farm visit by RAFI and have the GHG benefits initial verification completed, as well as complete the application for your incentive grants, and have SHI Soil Health Institute TA come and visit if applicable. And then in the summer, you will be working on your regenerative plan and getting it approved by Greener World. There is some reporting requirements, and then you'll have your Greener World review and audit. And in the fall, you can expect to get your first incentive payment. So that payment will be 75% of the total amount that you are awarded. So you'll get 75% up front, and then by that next following fall, you will get your final payment, which will be the remaining 25%. So that is just briefly some of the information about the program. I am going to pass it over to Caitlin to talk more about measurement, monitoring, reporting, and verification.
All right. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Great. My name is Caitlin Aguilar. I'm the Director of Quality at A Greener World. In terms of this Climate Smart Commodities project, I will be working in technical assistance and as a farmer liaison between farms and A Greener World's compliance staff and compliance process. So I'm going to spend a few minutes just discussing measurement, monitoring, reporting, and verification, as T had mentioned. So we'll just jump into it. Let's see. T, would you mind just bumping to the next slide? It looks like I'm struggling here with. There we go. Awesome. Thank you. So with the many different certifications on the market right now and different definitions of regenerative agriculture, I just want to set the stage for AGW standards and how we define regenerative agriculture. We define it as a set of planned agricultural practices that ensure the holding is not depleted by agriculture practices. And over time, the soil, water, air, and biodiversity are improved or maintained to the greatest extent possible. So if we want to hop to the next slide. Thank you, T. All right. So the scope, it's not just a certification, it's a management tool. How our standards are set up, we have two sections, the regenerative assessment and the regenerative management plan. The regenerative plan is a requirement of our standards, and that's what we say by it's a management tool. It's one of the key distinctions of our program, and it's the only regenerative certification on the market that is plan-based in the way that it's not just custom suited to your holding, but really acts as a guide for and a tool for measuring and planning change on your holding or farm. The assessment is really a whole farm analysis of risks from farming activities and operations, historical events, current and future events planned. So it really is aimed at capturing the entire farm, and not just soil, but water, air, biodiversity, buildings. There's human elements, social elements to it, and financial elements, but those are a bit more minor. The management plan also will outline your methods, timelines, and measurable results of the practices used to address the identified risks. So for instance, say you have bare soil in a portion of your holding and you're concerned about rain and runoff, then that would be assessed for the risk of potential runoff, and then you would put in a mitigation strategy and then monitor it to see how effective that strategy is over time. The plan has to be written by a qualified expert. Farmers can be the qualified expert, or you can work with folks, you know, in whatever section that you're needing expertise on. In this case, for this project, the qualified expert will be RAFI. So as part of this grant, RAFI will be doing the technical assistance in plan writing. We do have a regenerative plan template that we go by, but because this is part of a USDA grant, there's also some USDA documentation that'll go with it that RAFI assists with. It needs to be written for a minimum of 5 years. However, we really encourage the plans to be written further out, closer to 10 years, if not more, just to really get the bigger picture of things, because sometimes results might not be as apparent in the first couple of years and takes a bit longer to see that improvement. Or otherwise, you know, if you have something that's implemented that's not quite working, you need some time to adjust it and then remeasure and remonitor it going forward, maybe with different metrics or something. It's reviewed annually. It needs to be reviewed annually by the farm, but also AGW, and this is where T was discussing the annual audit and second audit. AGW will be reviewing your plan annually. We have a panel that will review it initially and approve it. And we consider it a living document. So it's not a one and done. If there's issues or information missing or clarification needed, we'll be in contact with you throughout the whole process. And there's always opportunity to add information, change things, and discuss with us. But we will look at it annually, and we will look at your test results annually as well. And then when the auditor is on site at your farm, they will be also reviewing all of your practices to make sure that what's written down, what practices you say you're implementing, you're actually doing, or if there's risks that haven't been identified or different interpretations, we'll take a look at that. However, we do consider each farm the expert of their holding. So we are not there to tell you what to do. We're there to verify that what you say you're doing, you are doing. And again, annually, it will be looked at by our review panel as well. So it's not just an initial review, it's really a living, breathing process and document. And that plan is really the keystone of this whole project. So next slide, please. So for the MMRV, the measurement, monitoring, reporting, and verification, there are different quantification tools that are at your disposal for this project. One of them is the greenhouse gas benefit quantification through the COMET tool. It's a USDA COMET farm planner. And you can go online and use this and put in what practices you're using, and it'll give you different quantifications of, you know, carbon sequestration and things like that. Maybe not specifically carbon sequestration, but I haven't looked at it a little bit, but that's where RAFI will come into play. There's also different innovative and alternative quantification methodologies. T mentioned Soil Health Institute doing 16 farms as part of this and doing all the soil testing and monitoring for that. If you are one of the farms chosen, you do not have to do additional soil testing in addition to that. However, we don't just look at soil, we look at 2 indicators of soil health and biodiversity, one of which has to be soil biology or biodiversity, a biodiversity metric, and an air monitoring metric. So it won't just be soil based. Again, it's a whole farm approach. Each farm will also need to list all of their methodologies in the regenerative plan. With that, the USDA, excuse me, the AGW standards has different annexes available at the end of our standards. If you haven't taken a look yet, I recommend doing so. Specifically, our Annex B is really good at giving potential testing methods that you can use on your farm. And again, that's where the qualified expert, so whether that's you or somebody from RAFI or somebody from, you know, an extension unit or something like that, an extension agent, will determine what's most suitable for your specific farm. It's not a one size fits all, and we recognize that. So our Annex B really lists out a bunch of different tools that you can use to make sure that you're monitoring properly. And it's not an exhaustive list. So if there's something that's recommended either by RAFI or a different expert, or that you think might work better, whether it's worm counts, whether it's soil structure, whether it's water turbidity testing, whatever that might be, you're welcome to it. You just need to make sure that it's addressing and mitigating specific risks. So as this program goes on, we will discuss this further and have more information available to you, but at any time, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you guys might have. And with that, I will turn it over to Callie with our marketing team.
Thanks so much, Caitlin. Hi, everybody. I'm Callie Castile. I'm the Marketing Services Coordinator for A Greener World. And for this grant project, I am going to be working with farmers who are involved in the project and once certified by A Greener World. I'll be helping deliver all of our farmer services that I'm going to be telling you about in just a minute. So T, could you go ahead to the next slide, and I'll just go ahead and talk through some of those services. So our overall goal when farms are certified and come into the AGW program from our marketing support standpoint is to just work with you one-on-one to really find some customized ways to help get the word out about your farm and your certified products and really help promote them in any way we can. And so we do this in multiple ways. One way that we do that is through establishing and building relationships in order to help expand opportunities for your products. We also draft and send press releases. So once farms are certified by A Greener World and in the program, I, as the Marketing Services Coordinator, would work individually with you to learn about you and your farm and how you sell your products and where you sell your products. And we would work together to write a press release announcement that lets everyone know that you are certified in our regenerative program. And that press release is distributed to media outlets in your area or a specific targeted area. Sometimes it's where your farm is located, sometimes it's where you sell your product, with the idea to have a news or media outlet pick up the story, write about you in the paper, online, in a blog, something like that. So that is something that automatically comes with your certification, that kind of support. And it doesn't just stop there. If you have new products that you would like to announce, or if you are working with a new retailer, or if you just have big news to share with your farm or a big event coming up, say like a significant, farm tour or tasting or something like that. Those are all examples of things that we can help draft a press release and send out for you in order to get the word out. So that's something that's available as a service to you at any time through your duration of certification. We also feature news about the farms that we certify through our own networks. That includes our website. We have an online directory that's one of our most visited pages on our website that gets tons of consumer traffic from people looking to find AGW certified products across North America. And so once farms are certified, you have the option to list those products in this online directory. We also write a farm or business profile that lives on the AGW website that just highlights your story as a farmer, where you farm, and your products. So that is something that can help boost your own online presence, whether or not you have a website. We feature farms and products and news about the folks that we work with through all of our social media platforms and through a variety of newsletters. Those go out a few times a month. We have a farmer newsletter and a consumer newsletter, and we love any opportunity to be able to tell folks about who you are and what you do. So that's another way that we do that. And we also have a magazine that goes out quarterly, and we often feature news and highlights in that magazine as well. This image that you see here is a farmer that we work with in North Carolina, and he was featured in our magazine in our kind of standing highlight called Meet the Farmer. And then besides that, we can give advice on how to create a successful online presence. If you're looking to, if you're interested in working your certifications into your website, we can help you with text for that, provide logos and graphics for that, and we can give advice on effective social media strategies and more traditionally utilized marketing strategies too. All right, T, next slide. And in addition to more of the kind of PR marketing support, we also offer labeling support for certified producers. So once you're certified, we can work with you and your slaughter plant or processor in order to help you design and get approval on a really, really wonderful looking label that carries your AGW certification logos. So if you already have a label, we can help get the design files. We have a design team that can assist with this at no extra cost, but help just integrate the logos into your existing label. But if you want to create a label from scratch, we can help you do that too, completely from, ideas and dreams that you have about a label for your future. So that's something that we offer also during the whole time that you're certified. That comes at no cost to you as a certified producer. And so we can help with the design assistance. And then once we have the label the way that you wanted and the way that works for your processor, we also can gather all of the documentation needed to substantiate any label claims and submit the label application to the USDA or state inspector, depending on who you work with, to get that approved. All right, next slide, T. We also provide graphics assistance to certified producers. So this is really, we just want to be able to help create custom farm marketing materials that highlights your farm, highlights your certification. And so this looks different for every farm that we certify, but it's available to you as a farmer, as well as any vendors that you work with, any retail outlets, farmers markets, grocery stores, really anybody you're working with has access to our graphics assistance. And we can help design banners like the one that you see here. This is in store, and I believe a grocery store or cooperative in the Northeast. We can help you create a banner for your farmers market stand. We can help farm or product posters that are used at point of sale. So any kind of signage or shelf talkers or vinyl decals, really, again, it completely varies by farm, but anything that you may need design or graphics assistance with, that's available to you once you're certified. Next slide, T. And we go to events with you and can help host events. So event support is something that we really love to do with the farms that we certify. So like I mentioned, we can go to an event with you to help explain your certification, why it's important and why it matters. If you are a farmer who is either tabling or presenting at a conference, we can help provide materials for that, brochures or signage. So there are a few different avenues of ways that we can work with you on that kind of support, but it's something that we love to do. And whether it's a farm tour or an in-store event where you're doing like sampling or tasting, or if you're speaking at a farm conference, whether it's regional or national, we want to be able to make sure that you have whatever you need to help support your certification and just supporting you and talking about your farm and your products and what you do. I think that about wraps it up for me, T. Thanks.
Thank you, Callie. So now that Caitlin and Callie have went through their pieces, we're just going to talk about briefly how you can apply So you should fill out the farmer interest form. I think Lisa dropped the link in the chat as well. But we just need basic information about your farm. If you don't have all the info when you complete the form, that's okay. There will be opportunity for follow-up. So I'll either email you, give you a call, or we can discuss that in your phone screening. There's no wrong answers, but there is, however, a deadline, which is December 15th to get the form completed. I know many of you that are on the call already submitted your interest form. Thank you for going ahead and doing so. And you should have, if you haven't already, gotten an email for me to schedule a phone screening for 2024 to just get more information about the program and for us to learn more about your farm. And now we're going to open it up for any questions that folks may have that have not been answered in the chat. So I will check the chat to see if we have any that aren't answered. And if you do have questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat and we'll make sure they get answered.
I think there are two questions that haven't been answered yet. One is the farm certified or the individual species? For example, I run beef, pork, and lamb. However, only my lamb flock is certified AWA.
I can take that one. This is Emily. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Moose. I'm the ED at HEW and the project lead. And really excited to be talking with you all today. And thank you to the presenters as well. So this is a good question. Typically with the regen certification, it is geared more towards a whole farm certification or, by the farm or, land based. But I think with this project, there may be some flexibility there. So I would say go ahead, fill out the interest form, and we can work through those specific needs in the eligibility process.
Great. Another question being, I have animal welfare certified flock of hens for eggs and I grow vegetables. I don't need help marketing the eggs. There's a waiting list, but would love help marketing the veggies. Is the certification for animals and plants?
So yes, similar answer. It is geared toward all of the products that a farm produces, but yes, I would go ahead and apply. If your main interest is in your plants, go ahead and note that on your submission form.
All right, we have another question. The interest form asked about current NRCS contracts. Will that impact our ability to participate in this?
So this is an area that we're, what we understand from this is that if you are getting a contract to implement a practice that is one of the designated climate smart practices that's associated with our project. So we have a list of, I don't know, 7 or 8 NRCS climate smart practices. And if you are already getting funding to implement one of those practices, and that's the one that you are interested in doing with this project, it would have to be a very clear enhancement of that practice. So we definitely need to make sure that there's no double payment for the same thing. And so the safer bet would be to choose a different practice that is not already under contract with NRCS. But we have a process to make sure that there's not double counting, and we'll manage that and deal with that in the eligibility process. And you do get to choose which practice you implement.
There's a question about whether we can access this recording later, and yes, we're recording it. I believe we'll be able to send it out later today or tomorrow. Are small urban farmers eligible?
Yes. So we do not have a size limitation. We are recommending that farms be 15 acres in size at least, but that's not a hard and fast requirement. And if you are on the smaller side, I think there still can be benefits in terms of market presence. So we would recommend, either an established market presence or outreach presence. Or the 15 acres. But again, this is open to anyone. And again, just go ahead and apply. And we want to work with as many farms as we can. And so this is open to everyone.
All right. Is this open to nonprofit farms, and is farm size part of a ranking process for applications?
So it is, if you have management control of the farm, I would say that's the key indicator there. And in terms of the farm size and the ranking process, just full transparency, we have as part of our project, we have a deliverable of a set greenhouse gas emissions commitment that we are working towards. And so to do that, we can make that up with farms of any size. And so right now we don't have a system to rank those. But we are still working on that piece of the criteria. So that is high on our list.
All right, and then there's a question about methodologies in place for dairy goats, sometimes stuck with dairy cattle processes instead.
Can you share a little more about that? So just like, is the certification or practice implementation open to dairy goat producers?
I guess so. If I'm not capturing that, David, maybe you could explain more in the chat, but let's go with that.
Let's see. Can we double check the list of eligible commodities before I'm wondering if you are also doing dairy cattle and dairy goats. We can also just respond in the chat once we confirm that, David. And thanks for the question.
We can go to the next question. Can I understand the stipends more? How are they determined? How much are they and how long are they for?
Do you think it would be helpful to go back to that slide on the stipends? Okay, yeah. So just to kind of kick that off, so the initial stipend is a regenerative plan writing stipend, and that is to support producers in actually those beginning stages of putting together a regenerative plan with RAFI support, and to compensate the time associated with that. And that is a $1,250 stipend. And I think there was maybe one slide back, maybe a few slides back to you. It was like right around back again. Let's see, I think it's back a couple more slides. There was just an overview of the incentives. I think it came after eligibility. There we go. Yeah. So $1,250 stipend for the regenerative plan writing. And then the certification itself has a value that's not, cash in your pocket. That's just valued at $2,050. The incentive grants, so they are determined and awarded. So basically you will apply for an incentive grant for a set amount to implement a practice with an estimated greenhouse gas reduction level. And so that will be applied for in conjunction with RAFI and your regenerative plan. And so it's like here's what I want to do, here's what it's going to cost, and here's, the emissions reductions associated with it. So that then gets evaluated, approved after your certification comes through. And then you will have that, the majority of that funding to implement the practice. And then you'll receive the balance of it once the practice has been implemented. So we have in the budget an average of $10,000 per farm for this. But again, the grants will be, individualized based on the practice being implemented and competitive based on the emissions reductions possible. And everybody, other folks on the, presenters or Lisa, feel free to chime in too.
The next question is, what are the 7 NRCS practices?
Great question. So the ones I will say, while I'm pulling up the ones that are potentially possible, the main ones that we really are channeling, our focus onto are the prescribed grazing and nutrient management. Those both fall really well in line with the certified regenerative standards. And so it's kind of an easy fit for what's going to be already happening anyway. But let me pull those up and I can share them. I'll just drop them in the chat if we want to go to the next question.
Okay. The next question was back to the question about dairy goats. Some clarification being sometimes goat dairy methane production can't be measured, or there's not a way to specifically measure those emissions versus cattle dairy.
Okay, so yeah, so in looking at the emissions, we are primarily using the COMET tools for measurement for this project. The regenerative certification does also contain a component of measuring emissions, fossil fuel emissions associated with agricultural production. So the measurement, I think, will be primarily based around the capabilities of the COMET tool, if that's helpful.
All right, next question I think is similar about whether the certification is by category, by commodity, or is for the whole farm. So I think, I don't know, do you want to just summarize that quickly?
Sure, yeah. And that was an earlier question. It's a good one. So typically in the scope of the regenerative program, it is by the farm. And so looking at all of the products that are produced from that holding. But within the scope of this grant, there may be some flexibility. So what we are recommending to folks is just to go ahead, submit the interest form, and we can discuss that through the eligibility screening.
Great. There was a follow-up question related to project incentives. So it could be higher or lower than 10,000 depending on the need.
Correct.
Yep. A geography question: is this available in Ohio?
Yes. It's available, yes. So as T mentioned, we have a focused recruitment in the southeastern United States, but it is open to folks all over the country and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. And so some of our criteria is going to be trying to make best use of our travel budget in grouping farms of similar locations. But with that said, it is open to everyone, and we're excited to see kind of the hubs that materialize out of the interest process.
Someone indicated they're already doing regenerative practices. Can we participate in this? We're always looking to improve.
Sure, yes. And it's worth noting that there are many different definitions of regenerative and, have been for thousands of years, in other words. And we understand regenerative is not something that was invented in a boardroom last year. And so, yes, we definitely respect everyone's current practicing of regenerative practices and would be thrilled to help validate those through this program if you're interested.
Can a farmer submit multiple farms for certification?
Good question. So we have discussed this. If there is, we are wanting to be fair about the resource distribution with this grant, and so we are. I would say if you have more than one farm, then choose which farm you would like to apply for, because I think it's unlikely that we would award two places to one farm through this grant.
Next question: if the implemented practices go over budget, would we have to finance the practices ourselves?
There is only 10,000 maximum available. Well, I shouldn't say maximum. I would think it would be very unlikely to be awarded more than 10,000 for a practice implementation through this project. So if it comes to that point, we are a nonprofit. We're always looking for ways to support farmers in adopting sustainable practices. But I wouldn't, we can help fundraise where we can, but I wouldn't count on that in your application and your emissions reduction plan unless you have a way to make up the difference. But RAFI is going to be supporting that process and helping farmers to create those grant applications for the incentive payments. And so, we'll be glad to work with folks however we can to make it successful.
All right, and this is the last question we have at this moment. Is the farm defined by the business or by the land parcels?
Sorry, what was that last?
Is the farm defined by the business or by the land parcels?
Is by the business, well, both, honestly. So like if I'm anticipating the root of the question, you can have land parcels as part of your business that are offsite from your main farm, if that's helpful. But to be certified, we do actually visit each farm site.
All right. And looks like, yeah, you just put the NRCS practices in the chat. I don't think I saw any other questions that haven't already been answered. We could give it another minute if people are still typing. Okay, we got some questions. How will COMET be implemented?
So RAFI is going to be doing the baseline assessment with support from Soil Health Institute. And so it'll be a baseline and then periodic reevaluation through COMET. Good question. And we are going to be doing webinars and trainings on this too as the project progresses.
Okay. Any other remaining questions? And Lacey, yes, we have recorded the meeting and it will be sent out to everyone that registered either later today or tomorrow. All right, looks like that is it for questions.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. As mentioned earlier, if you have already done your interest form, you should get an email from me advising to schedule a phone screening. If you have not done your interest form, go ahead and get that completed so we can get you scheduled for a screening. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.